Welcome to the Profits Cove video newsletter, packed with smart and innovative business building advice for the marine industry, and a little fun along the way.
Now we're going to apply it to ourselves, and Matt Sellhorst is going to apply the customer life cycle to the sailing industry. Matt is the author of Marine Marketing Strategies. He's a speaker at industry events such as Marine Retail University, the Marine Dealer Conference and Expo, MDCE, manufacturers events, and has been featured in the Boating Industry magazine, Soundings Trade Only, Yama News, and honored in the Movers and Shakers edition of Boating Industry in the Bold Movers category. He's also awarded the Best Idea during the 2014 MDCE in Orlando for a simple online reputation management strategy, and that's how I came across him using the Google machine. He was highly recommended as a speaker, and I'm excited he's here to carry this conversation forth for another bit of today. So with that, Matt Sellhorst. How y'all doing today? All right, let me get set up here. Let's charter a boat.
Can y'all hear me if I just talk?
No. We've got to replace, what's that? Oh, we're good. Replace the standing rigging. We should buy a sailboat. What do all three of these things have in common? For me, the way I look at the industry is, it's somebody that's got started on what I call the educational spectrum. I talk about it in terms of a boat buyer, but it's really the buying process of anything. And I'll walk through it so you can kind of picture in your particular business. So who do we all have in the room? Dealers and brokers? Raise your hand. Okay, like marinas, yacht clubs, shipyards. Yell out some of the other things if you're not a distributors. Okay. Media, retail. Okay, so everybody, all of your clients start with an idea like, hey, we should buy a boat, or we need to fix this, or we have a problem with that. And that's where the prospect first gets the idea. It's where they start on the educational spectrum at A, and then they start gathering basic information informally. They ask friends for recommendation, looking for those third-party referrals. And then they start diving into a little bit more serious research. Then they narrow down their choices. And then they narrow down on their favorites. They make the decision to buy, okay, hey, we're going to buy a boat. But they're not really sure exactly what they're going to get or who they're going to buy from. They wait for the time to be right, and then money finally changes hands. So let me give you an example that's not boating related, but I have a 4-year-old. If you saw that little picture up there, my little girl Avery. We go into a convenience store and she says, Daddy, can I get a pack of gum? She loves to chew gum. She first had the idea. She's entered the educational spectrum of a gum buyer, okay? So she starts doing her basic information gathering. She looks at all the 500 choices of gum, right? And she says, well, what kind do I want? You know, there's bubble gum and there's mint and there's all these different flavors. Then she says, Daddy, what kind should I get? She's asking friends for recommendations. Then she starts doing serious research. You know, she really starts diving in. And then she starts evaluating. Do I want bubble gum or do I want mint? And then she zeroes in on the bubble gum. And then she says, do I want grape or do I want strawberry? And then there's 20 different kinds of grape and strawberry. And she starts narrowing down. Finally, she decides that this is what I want. But the timing's not right yet because she still has to ask this question. Daddy, can I have some money? So she asks that question. I give her the money, and she buys the gum. Now, see, she picked out the strawberry bubble gum. But that's the concept of the educational spectrum, okay? Everybody goes through it, and I break it down into 3 different categories. It really makes it easier to talk about. It makes it easier to come up with strategies on how you can implement it in your boat business. So I break it down into researchers, into evaluators, into now buyers. And then they kind of just make sense. As I talk through the story with Avery, my little girl, you know, you can easily bucket your folks. A few key things to know is everybody goes through the educational spectrum when they buy anything. You first get the idea, you start doing research, and as Gene talked about, that research and evaluation, she had the number 57% and 67%. A lot of that's done online because today, our buyers, they're skeptical of salespeople. A lot of buyers don't like to talk to salespeople, and they'd rather do it behind their computer without having somebody hard selling them, without having somebody trying to push their agenda on them. So those researchers and evaluators, a lot of that stuff is happening online. And it's only when they make the decision that we're going to buy a lot of times where they get face-to-face. Now, sometimes they come up earlier. We've had those conversations at a boat show where we've got those inquiry calls from our website. Hey, tell me about this, and they're still way out. But if you look at the way you focus on your clientele and your prospects, it's likely that you're only focused on that 1/3 of folks that are now buyers, that have made the decision to buy. So all of your communication in your sales presentation, in your website, your whole online presence, what I call your online dealership, as I work with dealers and brokers, is focused on those now buyers. I suggest to you that there's a huge opportunity to focus on those 2/3 of people that are on the left side of that educational spectrum that are first getting the idea, and it gives you the opportunity to start building the relationship, as Gene said, educating them so when they get to be a now buyer. You've kind of taught them the things that really frustrate you, the things that drive us crazy as salespeople. And I started off in the industry as a boat salesperson, nose to nose, toes to toes, sitting at a boat show and having the same conversation 20 times in a single day and then doing it all over again the next day. Those were researchers. Those were people that were just trying to figure things out. So let's jump into each bucket and how they apply to your industry. The other thing about the educational spectrum is, why are you attacking here? The other thing about the educational spectrum is it can take a day. It can take minutes, like my daughter Avery. Her buying a pack of gum is a 10-minute experience. For you and I, it's 30 seconds, but we're going through all those steps. It can take days, it can take weeks, it can take months, and for an aspirational purchase like a sailboat, a lot of times it can take years. Okay, so we'll start with the researchers. They first get the idea, they gather basic information, they're asking for recommendations, and the serious research is kind of on the cusp of an evaluator. There's a thought in direct marketing. It's called Robert Collier, in the Robert Collier letter book. He talks about entering the conversation going on in your prospect's mind. Has anybody ever heard that or read that book? It's about 100 years old. I mean, it's a classic, but direct response people study this stuff. So let me ask you, in your business, and just kind of yell it out, what are your researchers thinking about? What are the thoughts that are going through their head when they first get the idea, hey, maybe we should blank, whatever your product or service is, or we have to, if you've got to make a repair, we have to fix this. So what are some of the thoughts that your clients would have, your perfect prospects would have as it relates to your products? Anybody? Am I going to like it? Okay, so what do you sell? Are you a broker?
We teach sailing and charter.
Okay, so you teach and you charter. So will I enjoy chartering a boat? Is it worth the investment?
Well, I enjoy sailing.
Will I enjoy sailing in general? There you go. Thank you. So those are the types of things that if you can write those down and you can really sit back and think, hey, what are my prospects thinking? What's the conversation going on in your mind? And when you can figure that out, then you can communicate with those research in a way that you can sort of guide them down the educational spectrum of whatever your product or service is. Because once you figure out what conversation's going on in their head, the content creation becomes easy. So let me give you some examples, and hopefully this will trigger you for your particular section of the sailing industry. So, Rhode Island Sailboat Buyer's Guide. Everything you wanted to know about buying a sailboat but didn't know who to ask. So if you were interested, you never owned a sailboat before, you were out with friends and you had a great time, don't you think that's the kind of content that you would say, I've got to read that. I've got to check that out. Now, here's the interesting thing, is I grew up, started boating when I was 5 years old. you all have probably been in boating for decades, probably since you were kids. If you're in the industry, it's likely that you grew up boating. There are just things that we know as boaters, as sailors, that our prospects would love to know. There's things that we know about our product and service that our prospects want to know, are dying, they're craving to know this information. And we've got it all up here in our head, and the only way we're getting it out to people is when we have a one-on-one conversation and you ask me a question. Matt, I'm not sure if sailing's right for me. Well, you know what, let's talk about that. Tell me, what kind of experience have you had sailing? And we have that conversation one-off, but there's no leverage involved. They can't find that on the internet. They can't find that in the 2/3 of the process that's done online, or a majority of it's done online. So if you can create a tool like this, just take all of that information that's in your head and start writing some bullet points. And the creation is simple. Sit down with a video recorder and have somebody in your office, a client, ask you the top 5 questions that you think your perfect buyers would ask. And just videotape it. You can, with 2 clicks of a button, you can put it up on YouTube, and now you can take that and you can put it on your website. You can put it on Facebook. You can put it on Twitter. You can put it anywhere you want once you've created it. You can have it transcribed, and you can put it in a booklet form and give it out at boat shows. Once you know what the conversation going on in your prospect's head is, the content creation becomes simple, because we all know this information. We're experts, and we can share that information with our perfect prospects. Now, there's 2 things about sharing that information. One is you can share it just freely. Come to my website, get it for free, and now I've set myself up as the expert. Now, if you do that approach, you've got to take that information and you've got to have some sort of call to action to guide them down the educational spectrum, right? You don't just want to provide the information and say, I hope you come to us. I hope you spend money with us eventually. You want to provide additional ways for them to respond and continue down that educational spectrum. Or you can take the second approach, which is the form approach, a squeeze page or an opt-in page, and you can say, hey, I've got this free boat buyer's guide. All you need to do is leave me your name and email address, and it's yours for free. Now, what have you just done? Now you've just created a lead that says, hey, I'm interested. If I'm going to get this boat buyer's guide, I'm interested in buying a sailboat. And I'm probably from Rhode Island. And now you've just created a high-quality lead. Each approach works. You've got to figure out what works for your business. So let's take another look. 7 amazing sailboat charter destinations out of Newport Harbor. So for your charter business, where are you out of?
San Francisco Bay.
Okay, so if you said 7 amazing charter destinations out of San Francisco Bay, you know where the best places to go are. Maybe you take your smartphone and you go to those destinations and you take some quick video and you put them together. Maybe you interview your clients that have been to those destinations and let them tell their story. Hey, tell me about your trip to Rhode Island, whatever. And now you've just created some content that's very desirable for your perfect prospect. Not only that, you sold the dream, and you've got them engaged. You got them engaged in your product or service, and you did it in a way that they love. That's what they're online searching for. Let's take a look at another one. Is sailing right for you? Take a quick quiz to find out. You know, could work for virtually anybody that's in the retail space and sailing, whether you're a charter company, a dealer, or a broker. And you're just engaging those researchers because, 2002 had the number 4 spot in Google. There are people that pay thousands of dollars a month to get on the first page ranking of Google. And Forbes has been there for 13 years. If you created a similar piece of content, and I like to do it locally because I don't necessarily want people from everywhere. Maybe in your particular business you do, but when you start adding the local aspect to it, raising up even higher in the search engine ranking is easier because most people are going to search locally when they start their research process. But hopefully this has given you a couple ideas of that content, but the biggest thing is, what's the conversation going on in their head at that particular moment when they're researchers? So evaluators. Okay, so evaluators are continuing their serious research, they're narrowing down in their choices, and they're narrowing in their favorites. So, what's the conversation going on in the evaluator's mind?
What makes you different from the other
Why should I buy from you versus anybody and everybody else, including not buying at all? Absolutely. There you go. You didn't know there were going to be bribes involved today. So, what makes you different? That the evaluators are looking to make a decision, and they want to make the best decision. They want to make the right decision, and they're looking for differentiators. But you go to anybody's website, 98% of websites in the industry, and you look at them in the About Us section on the homepage, I can virtually guarantee that any dealer is going to say, we have the best service, we have the best products, we care about our customers. We've been in the boating industry since 1901. Well, guess what? So is everybody else. There's no differentiator in there. So if you can think, what are our evaluators thinking? What makes you different? They're evaluating you versus other people. Answer that in a meaningful way. Communicate with those evaluators in a way that you can guide them down the educational spectrum. So let's take a look at some examples. Catamaran versus day sailor. Which is better for beginners, intermediates, and pros? Now, I'm a powerboat guy. I hate to admit it here, but I hope this makes sense. But it's formulaic. Buying versus chartering. New versus used. Buying from a private owner versus buying from a professional broker. It's formulaic, and once you know what the conversation going on in your prospect's head is, the content sort of fills in itself. 7 must-ask questions before chartering a sailboat company out of Newport. Again, formulaic. 7 must-ask questions about your product or service, how to evaluate to make sure, to your point, that you're making a smart decision, you're making the best decision. And guess what? You should know this information, but we get so focused, and it's not just our industry, it happens everywhere. You get so focused on, we're going to build a new website, and you're so worried about the picture and the design and the looks of it, that you forget that the most important part is what you talk about. The most important part is what you say, the copy, what you talk about in your online videos. That's the key that makes it successful or not successful. Not if you have the new highest tech technology, but are you entering the conversation in your prospect's mind? And I love this one because not only is it educational and it's what your prospects are looking for, but it also really helps selling your services. I like to talk about with my coaching clients, delivering pre-qualified, pre-positioned, and less price-sensitive prospects to your sales team. And when you offer content like this, you've done some of the heavy lifting. You've done some of the heavy lifting in the sales process, right? Because you've given it to them in a way that it's informational, educational. Whether they buy from you or not, they're going to make a better decision. You answer them in a way that kind of guides them to your strengths. 11 insider tips from local sailboat owners about choosing the right blank. Now, this one has a component of what I call social proof. It's what my whole session on later this afternoon is about. The concept of letting your happy clients help you in the sales process. As salespeople, now let me back up. As a society today, everybody is very skeptical. They've been taught to be skeptical over and over. You think about Enron. You think about Bernie Madoff. You think about Lance Armstrong. Time and time again, people that we've held in high esteem have led us to believe that you can't trust a soul. So, when we as salespeople go out and say we have the best products, this is a quality product, I'm going to really take care of you. I'm not just going to deliver this boat and be gone. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to be there for you when you need us. Well, guess what? I don't believe when a salesperson tells me that. But if 20 or 11 of his happy clients told me that, now it's a little bit more believable, a little bit more credible, and you can also answer those questions that are going on in your prospect's head. All right, so now buyers. If you're here at this conference, I just know that you're a successful person. So you have a good grasp on this now buyer concept. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting in these chairs. So I'm going to give you a couple different ways to think about how to communicate with now buyers. But what are now buyers thinking about? There's prizes involved. What are your now buyers thinking about?
Price.
Price. specifically about price are they thinking? I believe that all now buyers are thinking, how do I get the best price? Not the lowest price, but how do I get the best price on this right now?
That is, in my opinion, it's not necessarily the lowest price because you all know the thing. You all know the story of there would only be or whatever if everybody just thought about lowest price. But the best price is, I want confidence that I didn't pay $50,000 when I could have paid $47,000. So as salespeople, we have to have the confidence when we discuss price that even if you would go to $47,000, it's your job to sell it at the highest level of profit. Because if you do that, you can deliver the best experience to your customers and you won't go out of business. Yeah, you can discount stuff and you can discount stuff, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. Eventually somebody's going to sell it lower, and eventually you're not going to be able to take care of your customer, and you're going to drive them out of sailing, which is a bad thing for everybody, including the prospect. So, how do we communicate with the now buyers and get them to buy from you right now? So let me give you the best price. You all have a good handle on how to have those conversations. But I'm going to give you a couple different things to think about. Risk reversal. The closer you get to the now buying phase, when you're ready to pull out your wallet and exchange $100,000 for a boat, your fear level goes up. Your risk level goes up because tomorrow you wake up and you think, dang, I'd much rather have that $100,000 back. I think I made a mistake. So, what can you do in your business to reduce that risk or reverse the risk? Warranties help. Guarantees are a great way to reduce that risk. Now, you've got to be ultimately confident in the products and the services that you deliver. Some of my clients that I work with, I actually, in the boating business where they sell new boats up to $100,000, they have money back guarantees. If you're not happy with your boat, within X number of time, if you return it in as-new condition, I will buy it back from you. Do you think that reduces the risk level? It's gutsy. As a dealer, I can tell you a lot more of my clients don't do it than do it, but if they do it, the ease of their transactions, their ability to sell at higher margins, their conversion rate, the ability to get another 5 or 10 clients a year that may not have bought, go up substantially. So think about in your business, what are you supremely confident about that you could guarantee? When I sold, I had 2 guarantees. I had a no sales pressure guarantee to get people to come in because I knew researchers and evaluators would rather sit behind the computer than be face-to-face because they were scared of the hard sell. But with my no sales pressure guarantee, I'll give $100 to your favorite charity if you ever say, Matt, you're giving me the hard sell. That differentiated me and it reduced their risk. I also had a happy boater guarantee that wasn't quite to the level of buy it back because I was a salesperson and I didn't have the ability to buy the boat back if that happened. But I did everything I could to reduce their risk so that they would make a now buying decision and buy from me. And it also differentiated me because nobody else does it. The best one I've seen is up to 30 days. We'll buy it back if you return the boat in as-new condition. Now, you've got to figure out for your business how you can do it. I'm not saying it's right for everybody. I'm not saying that you have to do it, but figure out a way you can reduce their risk. What 27 other local boaters have to say about Max Marine. The social proof concept. Take that fear away. Get them to buy now by saying, hey, it's a smart decision. You're not the only one that's making this decision to buy from me or not. Let me tell you what 27 other people have said about their experience with me. And now you've got other people helping you through the sales process. And because, and I'll talk about it more in my next session at 1:30, there's a lot of scientific research on the concept of social proof, that what others say about you is more powerful and persuasive than what you say about you. And when you can demonstrate that a ton of other people have had a great experience with you, it reduces their fear level, and it allows you to get somebody to buy from you now because you dropped that fear level. They probably want to buy a boat. They just need a little nudge. And that leads us to the last one. Buy now because. Buy now because blank. The word because is a key word. And what you need to do is in your boat business, I suggest you come up with some ideas that answer that question. Buy now because X. Buy now because the rebates are going away in 30 days. Buy now because I've only got one remaining, my last one. Buy now because 4th of July is right around the corner and you would hate to miss the fireworks on your boat, celebrating the independence of this country. And if you don't do it now, you're going to miss that. And you're going to miss out on a whole summer of sailing.
All that sounds like hard sell.
You know what? In 5 years, never once had anybody take me up on that offer, and I had it plastered everywhere. It was one of my big, unique selling points. Now, it's all in how you do it. But there's another thing going on here, is you have to be supremely confident that that decision is the best decision. Because remember, this isn't a person that's just walked in to talk to me and decided, Matt, I want to buy a boat, I saw you on the website. It's somebody that I've taken by the hand, and I've walked them down that educational spectrum. I educated them. Here's how you buy a boat. I help them evaluate. Here's how you make sure you buy the right boat. And then when it comes time to be the now buyer, my job is to get them into the boat. Because if I don't, I've failed them. And you've got to truly believe that. Because here's the thing, is if they don't get into sailing now, and I've taken them through that whole thing, and I know they're buying the right boat, I know that nobody's going to take care of them better than I'm going to take care of them. I know that sailing is going to truly change their life. That there's nothing like sitting out in the middle of the water with your family, getting away from the real world. There's nothing better. And if you don't get involved in this, you are sadly missing out. And when you have that approach, yes, you're being aggressive, but I don't believe it's the hard sell because you're doing it with good intentions. So that's my feeling on it. In 5 years, I never had anybody take me up on it. You got to do it the right way. You can't be. In another presentation, a car salesman made my wife cry because they did the hard. They brought in the manager, and I mean, I told my wife, I said, "You're going to do all this because you need to get comfortable with it." And as soon as she started tearing up, then I had to step in. But I'm like, why would you do that? So you've got to have good intentions, and you've got to do it the right way. But buy now because, give them a reason to make the decision. And it's got to just nudge them over that fence. They're sitting on that fence, you've guided them down that educational spectrum, and you've got them to the point where you know it's the right one for them. You know they're going to enjoy it. You know that they can afford it. It fits into their budget. They just need that little bit of a nudge to get them to make the decision that they really in their heart want to make. So come up with some ideas there. Now, Jean talked about it in her session, and I love that you did those bonus slides because it fit nicely with this. 50% of forums online in the boat or in the industry overall in the world got responded to. 50% didn't. I did a webinar with Bob McCann's at ARI, Footsteps. They're a contact management system and tech company in the boating industry. And he had very similar numbers. They did it just for boat dealers and brokers. And it was like 51% responded, 49% never responded at all. So if you have this thought of the educational spectrum in the boat buyers, it can take days, it can take weeks, it can take months, it can take years, it can take decades. From the first thought for that aspirational, I would love to own a sailboat. I would love to take that charter trip to San Francisco Bay. I would love to do whatever. If they're ready to buy now, if they walk up to you and they're ready to buy a $2.5 million condo, close it, sell it. That's your job. But more than likely, they're going to be spread out over a long period of time. So let me ask you this. How long do you follow up with a prospect that showed interest in your product? Whether you talked to them on the docks, whether you ran into them at a trade show, whether they responded online, how long do you communicate with them in a systematic way? You never stop? Awesome. Do you have a system to do that?
Just up here, and I go through my leads and say, okay, I saw them at this boat show, it's time to ping them again.
Awesome, awesome. And that's exactly what I teach my clients. is to create what I call a 24/7 selling machine, a systematic approach to staying in touch with all of those prospects that, whether they requested a report, I offered the official boat buyer's guide, and had a big long subhead to it, but I generated a lot of leads that were real early in the buying process. I threw them into this funnel. The evaluators came to the boat show, walked into the showroom, they went into this funnel. I ran into somebody at the restaurant on the water that expressed an interest in boating. I put them into this funnel. Automated emails, manual emails, newsletters I love, because newsletters give you the opportunity to sell the dream, to sell the lifestyle, to present some social proof, to create a relationship in a one-to-many format. So one-to-one, I got to talk to a lot of people one-on-one to sell the number of boats I want, or to sell the number of products or services that I want to make the income I do. But when I can communicate 1 to 100 like this, that's pretty good. When I can communicate 1 to 1,000 or 10,000, that's even better. Because at some point, I'm going to push them across the educational spectrum, and they're going to have that relationship with me. I educated them. I helped them make the right decision. I've shown some differentiation, and I'm going to set myself up for more sales that are less price sensitive, and then frankly, they're easier and more fun. Phone calls, you can use all the technology you want, but nothing beats person-to-person communication. So you have a systematic approach that uses technology, but you put the manual and the personal relationship, like you said, I'm going to make the phone calls. I'm going to make sure I run into them at an event. And you want to mix that into whatever your system looks like. Direct mail, events, webinars. Think of all the different ways you can touch your database, but it starts with having a database. And it starts with making the conscious decision to communicate with them until they say, stop. I'm not interested in chartering a boat anymore. I'm not interested in buying what you have to offer. I'm not interested in getting into sailing. That's fine. I'll take you off. No problem. But, yeah.
I tell my salespeople the best phone call I'll ever get is, can you please have your sales and stop calling me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What my clients love best about this system is we set it up, I don't know if this has a pointer, but we set it up with a lot of automated stuff so they can make those phone calls to the ones that are most interested. Because you don't have, I mean, I had a database of 5,000 people. I didn't have time to call 5,000 people every month or even every quarter. But if I had all these other communication pieces going out, then I could make the phone calls to the ones that showed interest. And I could just hit the phones when I needed to. But having an automatic system is a big help. So here's the takeaways from what I'm sharing now. Is create a systematic communication strategy. Really think about that educational spectrum. Yep.
And how would you say if you were selling boats, and I'm sure it would be different for any product, but how do you determine frequency of touch to the potential customer? Because you do want to reach out to the building, say stop, but if you do it too frequently, you won't be able to make them say stop and actually buy.
It all depends on what you say to them. So you've got to go back to the communication strategy. Because if I email you every week and I say, are you ready to buy now? Are you ready to buy now? How about now? How about now? Then you're going to opt out and you're going to hate me. But if I send you every week, if I send you a monthly newsletter that's got interesting articles, some of the, the boat buyer's guide, the 7 destinations, the interviews with happy boaters. And then next week I send you an email that has an article about boat insurance. And the next week I send you an email that has, I call it a boat preview. It's a bunch of videos of boats that are for sale. And then the next week I send you an email that invites you to an event. Now you're fine with 4 emails a month. But it all depends on what you say. So if you're entering the conversation in their mind, I had in my personal system and the way I set them up for my coaching clients is 62 touches in a year. Amongst all of these, a lot of them are emails, newsletters, once a month, boat previews 2 to 3 times a month, 12 automated emails, phone calls, events, 62 touches. And my opt-out rate was well under 1% for my email. So it wasn't too much because I said good stuff. You know, it wasn't the typical salesperson contact, if that makes sense. Okay? So, a lot of different media, a lot of different contacts, but the key is entering the conversation going on in their mind. And think about it in each of those three buckets: researchers, evaluators, and now buyers. And if you can communicate with them that way, you can communicate with them a lot. So when they do get to that now buyer stage, they're ready to go. And then develop a 24/7 selling machine to drive them down. So I'm going to try this. We'll see if this works. This is a voicemail I got from a person I met at a boat show 4 years prior to this phone call. So I don't know if you can hear that very well, but 4 years prior to that phone call, I met Robert Rosenberger and his wife at a boat show. And I thought it was my first year selling. And I thought, I've got me a now buyer. I didn't talk about it in that terms when I first started, but I've got me somebody ready to buy. I'm going to make my first boat show sale. I spent hours with them answering all the questions. They were researchers. I didn't even know it. I put them in my 24/7 selling machine. 4 years later, out of nowhere, I hadn't made phone calls to them after the first month because I got busy being busy. I had other new leads to follow up with. So they fell off the phone calls, but they got my newsletters. They got my automated emails. They got my boat previews. And 4 years later, he called me up and said, Matt, we want to come in today because we're back in the market to buy a boat. Can we come in? Hey, come on in. They ended up buying a boat. It was the easiest sale ever because throughout that 4 years, they got 62 touches a year. So what if 240 touches for me, and I didn't even know they existed after the first 60 days. I forgot about them. I moved on. And they popped in and they bought a boat because I was the only person they would consider buying a boat from because I educated them. I helped them evaluate. And frankly, I had a relationship with them that no other boat dealer, I'm sure they sat and had conversations with the other 10 dealers at that show, but they didn't have a systematic approach, and that got me the sale. So I encourage you to think about these in the terms of the educational spectrum. Think about a 24/7 selling machine and what that would look like in your business. And I would love to see you at the 1:30 session. Thank you all very much.